months. That would be, second part would be slightly difficult, but when you log in, what is easier? So usually today what happens, people are on social network. So if you are, let's say, buying a particular jewelry on Zara or a particular handbag on Zara, so you would have gone to multiple sources. It could be Facebook, Twitter or YouTube, or whatever the social media. Somewhere one of your contacts has said, this particular brand is very good, the leather is very good, the design is very good, and you said, I liked this posting. As a e-retailer, so he will have a social web crawling methodology. He can go and find out, it is all on real time. So Dr. Bagli, his relative or his wife, his kid, somewhere they have gone on the social website and they have liked a particular brand. So when you log in, I will throw that particular brand or a particular product to you. So that's the beauty of it. So today if somebody says that I will follow the traditional way of, he is 40 years, he is this much, I will show him, that will not work. So people get bored. So moment you go, some 20 options comes, you think nothing is of use to me. A particular one which comes, I will give a very simple example. Flipkart had a very good tie-up with Motorola. Whatever Motorola couldn't do as a sale on outlets, on retail outlets, they could achieve more sales on a Flipkart website in a span of 1 month. So that's the beauty of what a e-retail and a context-aware personalization can do.
Now you want to say that, there's a wife who likes it, there's a child who likes it. So Zara has to first promote everyone to get married. Then only you will connect these dots.
No, it is, if a person is married, it will do. If he has a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if he has just a boyfriend, so it will go and find out. It is not that related to only your family. It goes secondary data. It can go beyond that. Your friend to friend. He is recommending something. You are liking it on some other social media. So it picks up that, okay, you have that intentions and liking for that.
I almost go once in 15 days to Zara at Phoenix Mall. Every 15 days when I go, there is something change, in that shop. Now, how do you capture our data and tell that? That is my question.
Okay.
Next 2 months, this could be my taste.
Okay.
And every 15 days, the taste gets changed.
Sure. So there is something called as which is an extension of this context-aware personalization called big data, which basically the data today is millions and millions. It's not only structured data, it is unstructured data also. So when you talk about big data, it's like a huge volume of data. So there are technology stacks available today, the infrastructure is available today, wherein you can capture about anybody, anything on this big data as a platform. On big data, you can do analysis. There are tools and there are techniques and rule engines available. You can do multiple things on that and you can come up with a particular offer. I would not say, is this the end of marketing? No. Still there is a way to go, but I would say compared to whatever personalization we are talking about, at least this is far ahead. The context-aware personalization is far ahead than the general personalization offering.
What would be the 5 data connects that you do for this?
See, in Flipkart, what we have envisaged, it may not be only for Flipkart, for all the e-retailers. It could be, as I said, that consumer behavior. So it could be demographic, it could be his, if you go to the slide number 2, excuse me, can you go to slide number 2? Back. Next. So these are the things that market data, location data, preferences, temporal, people, social. So if I can capture all this about a particular customer, I will be able to do, I would say, at least a decent job of context-aware personalization, and at least I can say there would be 75% of a targeted one-to-one marketing with this data. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. T.R. Ramakrishnan from SCMS Jain College. Sir's topic, Disruptive Innovations in Healthcare, the Velocity of the Pace of Modern Change and Strategies, a Study.
when I first received an email from Jain University, I never knew what VOCA was, and hence I had to use the library to search through the internet and find out the term meaning. Dr. Chenraj Jain, Dr. Sundarajan, the management, the staff, I make my humble attempt to make my honest submission on this topic, disruptive innovations in healthcare, the velocity of the pace of modern change and strategies, a study to the esteemed body of panelists, Dr. Vinod and Dr. Bagley, and would like to profess, stating that the government could use this particular model at strategic times. So, Harvard Business Review professes through Bennett and James, what they state is that in terms of a situation of volatility, you have to follow a certain approach. Same way for uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So what happens at volatility, what they say is you follow an approach of preparedness. At uncertainty, you try and collect information and be prepared to frame a strategy. At complexity, you get to notice that you use specialized skills and resources and use their resources in order to implement a specific plan of action at such times. And at ambiguity stage, you have to especially do an experimental work to figure out what you can actually come up with. So you need to use a cause and effect approach in that. So there were many other studies that have been carried out by Christine, who says in healthcare, try and have many people involved to take care of patients at such times. Let us take, for instance, in H1N1 situation, with the existing number of doctors available, it may not be possible for a huge amount of crowd if they come up and speak and come and look for either treatment on precaution measures or for cure. So in such cases, there is a need for creating a disruptive model at hospitals. So looking at the pace of modern change, you get to notice, velocity is a very important component in disruptive, in innovation. And distribution of that information is also pretty fast, and it has to be effective. So so some of the studies that has been conducted have focused towards the diffusion of innovation and also on use and gratification on these aspects. So the problem statement here is there is a long wait time in doctors' offices in government hospitals in Bangalore. Now, how could we try and decongest this during seasons of peak occasions like spread of syndrome or others? Actually, in February we have that particular problem in Bangalore itself. So the research question deals with how to maximize staff to handle growing patients masses in VOCA times. So which leads to the thought of whether integrating a specific model would be possible. So there's popular models of time technology acceptance model. Then you have the SMAC model. SMAC is to do with the social media mobility, analytics, and big data and cloud model, whether that would be accepted or not. So many reviews in this angle was done on disruptive innovations. So the success models in business organizations had to be assessed. So Bloomberg tried to look at disruptive innovations. In such cases, they forced a disruption in such critical situations and made people achieve certain team tasks. Now, in the case of Sodexo, they indicate employee engagement workspace design strategies accounting for a significant difference in employee satisfaction by giving giveaways and such things. And there was a journalist who interviewed top businessmen, and Warren Buffett said in such cases you try and focus on performance. Paul Polman states that you try and give handover charge to the consumers and heed to their needs. Similarly, Kritika Reddy stated that Facebook they changed over from desktop applications to mobile applications, and that's how they were staying. So like that, many reviews were highlighted with reference to the TAM model. So the objective of the paper is to carry out a comprehensive critical review of studies of TAM and SMAC with respect to healthcare context, and after that to propose an integrated model of the existing theories in an effort to improve its usefulness and to researchers and hospital decision makers in Bangalore. So a critical analysis projecting to a critical realism is what is actually the methodology that's been followed. So that should so the TAM model, the findings are this. In TAM model, you get to notice there is the purpose of anything that you introduce to the public. There's a perceived usefulness, and they will also check whether that perceived there is a method of using that particular tool. They'll check whether it's easy to use. If it is easy and it is of use, the attitude of the customer changes, or the health customer changes, and so the behavioral intention, which is a very important component for acceptance, actually takes place. So in TAM 2 they introduced more constructs. So in the constructs they had subjective norm, image, job relevance, output quality, results demonstration, basically with respect to opinion, framing of opinion leaders and such kind of things could happen for you to actually either support or get away from your perceived usefulness of this particular tool and the ease of use. So that will again create a behavioral intention to which will make a person actually to use that specific tool. Then TAUT is a unified theory of acceptance and use of technology. It's actually an integration of TAM and TAM 2, and there also you're trying to explain about the social influence, the effort expectancy, the performance expectancy, the facilitating conditions, and etc., which again makes you to change the attitude, behavioral intention of a person. TPB, theory of planned behavior, is also quite the same. Now, if you look at the next model of health information technology acceptance model, there they have bifurcated into 3 parts: the health zone, the information zone, and technology zone. So in that, the antecedents are as health status is reflecting to people who, okay, so and in SMAC you get to notice there are 4 aspects, as in social media, which could be used to distribute a particular information about the threats or the precautions taken for a specific disease, and mobility in terms of any mobile devices that people are actually accustomed or adopted to use. So the data, that's the big data and health intelligence that exists, you can actually do an analysis on that and predict in such cases what will be the behavior of people who come into the hospitals, and the cloud could be used to cut costs and lead health consumer positive attitude. And so my submission of the SMAC pulses TAM is based on this concept plus construct is equal to content. So the concept which relates to the use of social media applications, so wherein we try and project that opinion leaders are being removed from the society. You try and focus on from genuine sources on health aspects, rather than being a prey to opinion leaders who are not actually qualified, and hence that could lead to their behavioral intention, and then in a progressive time you will get to notice for any ailments the health consumer would definitely believe only on this genuine sources through social media, through the so this is that the SMAC concept, which boosts, TAM. With that, I would like to conclude stating that I analyze these and yeah. So yeah, that's it. I've done last slides. Thank you. Those are my references.
Doctor, how should be our health policy for India? In case we want to look at everyone as good health citizens.
Yeah, I think that's a nice question. See, if we are not told by someone, we will not move out of our house. As an example, last year the nation was considered as a polio-free nation. The reason being, we were told by through media. We were instructed by media. We were instructed by many of the health institutions to participate in the polio drops campaigns, and hence over the years, by this year it is eradicated. So is the case with any in any nation. Whenever there is a disease involved, if a concept of vaccine is being promoted through information and they come to hospitals and take that vaccine, after the next 10 years you'll get to see that disease is eradicated from that country altogether. So you need to inform. So SMAC Pulses TAM probably works for the reason the entire population is well connected with mobile devices, and many are moving on to the younger generation, at least to smartphones. Yesterday I was traveling by the train amongst these Biharis, two youngsters who go for daily wage work in construction, etc. There was not one boy in that general compartment who never had a smartphone. Either he owns a Micromax or a Samsung. So the ability for him to work is also, so the acceptance model is, the acceptance is there. The adoption level is there. Whether he's educated or literate or not, they are in a position to interact with these gadgets. So the SMAC.
As an Indians are like this, H1N1 is supposed to be a severe
yes.
problem there.
Yeah.
We are not still ready to give that. The injections, or we are doing stock, we don't have production.
No, in fact,
why is this happens?
No, Government of Karnataka has posted in the Day4 yesterday's news. What I've read is at 249 rupees, you have the H1N1, the swine flu tab boxes, which is available in all the government hospitals. So they have taken stringent. A week before, they were sluggish. But with the propaganda done by the media and the hospitals, they had no other choice but to source this from where they have sourced, I wouldn't know, but it has been sourced and given in the media. So there's a move, but there is no move in the public's readiness in order to go for a cure, for a prevention, like taking a vaccine. Now let's take the entire population of this city takes vaccine. You'll get to notice you will not find this disease coming over again for quite a while.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Assistant Professor Shilpa Sampath Kumar, Jyoti V, Sheetal V. Hukeri, Jain University. Research topic: a study on attitude towards investment preference for life insurance in India.
Good afternoon to the panel members and one and all present here. Myself, Professor Shilpa Sampath Kumar, has basically done this study to identify the research gap for my doctoral studies. So the topic is a study on attitude towards investment preference for life insurance in India. Financial services, being the backbone of any economy, entails major subsegments like broking, stock markets, mutual funds, insurance, etc. Our study focuses on insurance in general and life insurance in particular. Now, the financial meaning of life insurance goes on like this. It basically talks about how to compensate or redistribute the cost of unexpected loss. If I go in for a financial meaning of life insurance, it basically talks about how to recoup the funds or because of the expected loss. When I go on to the legal meaning of a life insurance, it basically talks about a legal enforceable contract wherein one party promises to pay the other in case of an unexpected loss. But life insurance, however, is a distinctive type of insurance where there is a certainty of payment of a specified amount either on the death of the insured or on the maturity of the policy, whichever is earlier. Moving on to the highlights of review of literature, as quoted by Kapoor, almost every Indian investor has a life insurance policy that he does not want. He is somewhere stuck in an unsuitable policy. As quoted by IRDA Chairman J. Hari Narayan, India's life insurance business has started a new era from September 2010 with the introduction of ULIPs, Unit-Linked Insurance Plans. As quoted in IRDA Journal of May 2009, basically life insurance was, a few years ago, was viewed as a tax planning device, moving on to an investment option, and now we hope to see life insurance as an insurance device. Now, life insurance companies are seeking to promote their service quality as a way to retain customer and attract investment from the general public. Next slide, please. Now, coming to the basic objectives, it is to study the effect of demographic variables like age, income, occupation, etc. on the investment preference in life insurance sector, along with to ascertain the reasons of investing in life insurance. Now, coming to the research methodology, it is basically a descriptive study to understand the effect of demographic variables on investment preference. A survey questionnaire has been administered to the sample. The target population is of various life insurance companies, both in private and public sector. A purposive non-probability sampling method has been applied with a sample size of 1071. Now, coming to the findings of the study, the descriptive statistics of single response, as you can see, the majority of the customers, 65% of them, belong to the age group of 20 to 35, which means to focus that insurance companies are taking a major segment from young investors. If I check on to the gender, it was very difficult to get a women customer out here in the sample. 64% of the population belonged to the male gender, whereas with great difficulty we could get 36% of the women population. Now, coming to the marital status, surprisingly, single person with no dependents constitute 301, that is 28% of the sample, with little bit less 265 members who are coupled with children, with little less 21% being currently married. This concept of single person with no dependents concentrating on life insurance creates a thought. Why is life insurance investment made? Is it for risk cover or is it some other investment reason behind it? Now, moving on to the level of education, majority of the population, 83%, are literates, especially in the higher educational level of graduates, postgraduates and professional degrees when compared to the primary school, secondary school or PUC students. Moving on, next slide please. looking at the risk appetite, 47% of the population have opted it as a low risk investment avenue, identifying life insurance as a low risk investment avenue. Coming to the monthly income, majority of the population belong to the salary up to 30,000. That is the middle segment, or rather the middle income segment are the people who are the major investors in life insurance. Moving on to the care confidence by children for old age, 29% of the life insurance customers of this sample do not have a child, and 26% say that they are confident that their children will take care of them, but still they have opted for a life insurance cover for the obvious reasons well known to them, which highlights that it is not only a risk cover, but there are major reasons of investment behind life insurance. Coming to the personality, 459, that is 42% of the population belong to personality 2. This is a social oriented category who says that treat me like a person, I don't need a generic answer. Means they want the life insurance companies to identify their need rather than giving a generic statement about why they should prefer investment in life insurance. Coming to the information stressed at the point of sale, 47%, that is 499 people have said that we see the past performance of the policy before we go into the investment of the same. And coming to the last demographic variable, that is first response to financial emergency, 33% of the population said that they prefer life insurance only for the concept of family support. Now, the statistics of multi-response classification variables. When encountered with the occupation, 65% of the population are salaried segment who are the investors in life insurance when compared to business people, housewives or retired people or students.
Excuse me, ma'am. Don't read out this descriptive analysis. Just come to the conclusion and mention your conclusion.
Sure, sir.
Otherwise, it will take too much of time. There are so many tables now.
Yes, sir. It's almost done. It's the last two tables there.
Oh, then quickly, please. Huh?
Yes, sir. Now, so household decision makers, 550, that is 50% of the population said that they have taken this as a self decision to go in for an investment in life insurance rather than it is inspired by the parent or the spouse. And the core of the paper, that is the purpose of savings. Out of the various reasons listed, the majority, that is 38%, says that it is been for the old age security rather than for any other reason. The next slide, please. The before slide.
No,
Yeah.
better go to conclusion. Next slide.
So the core of the paper is in this slide.
Oh, is it so? Not in the conclusions?
It is there, sir. But here the core of the paper is the reasons for investment preference in life insurance. Okay, I'll come to this. That is the last one. So the reasons for investing in the life insurance. So 59% of the population says that it is for financial security. 23% say that they expect a better return. 17% say that it is trustworthy, and 16% say that it is for tax benefits. So these are the basic reasons why investment preference of life insurance has to be analyzed. So if I have to conclude, these are the basic findings. But I would like to make a note out here that because of this research studies, I could identify a research gap, like why I couldn't find women customers as life insurance customers. Is it that only the male member of the family's life which is important to be covered for the risk? Is it the so-called earning member of the family's life so very important? Why come women life insurance customers are not seen? In spite of having such women plans by various private sector and even public sector by LICs, why are not women not coming forward to have a life insurance policy for self? So this is one research gap which I think has to be studied about. So this study has basically helped me to identify that research gap for continuing my doctoral studies. Thank you.
I just have a basic small observation on your data collection.
Sure, sir.
It's just an observation, right?
Sure, sir.
You say 20 to 35, almost 702 respondents.
Yes, sir.
Single person with dependents are 192, or single person with no dependent 301.
Single person with no dependence, yes, sir, 301.
Okay. And in level of education, you said that almost barring 16 or 17, everyone is educated. Somewhere your table says like that.
Yeah.
Household decision makers, self, spouse, parents, siblings. Occupation, you look at former salaried employees, central government, state government, private. And people say that for the tax benefits, 181 say that because of the tax benefit we want to take LIC. Is this data correlating somewhere? When you say 20 age,
20 to 35.
that is what? That interval is too big an interval.
Yes, sir.
15 years interval to understand investment pattern is too big. Your
Sir,
first interval is 15 years, second interval is 9 years, and third interval is 7 years.
yeah, the reason why we have taken such intervals was 23 we normally complete the PG, and the next 2 to 3 years will be going in settling for a job. That is not the age when people basically think about a life insurance. That is what was initially thought about when the questionnaire was designed. So maybe little bit at the later part, 28, 29, once their basic professional goals they think are satisfied, they think about something else. Once married, risk cover for the spouse and things like that. So we kept that interval as huge, 20 to 35. But the next intervals, because the mindset changes, they might come out with a policy which is called as pension plans. They might come out with a policy called as children's plans, which is not thought about in the earlier ages. So 20 to 35 was a huge interval so that they make up their mind for the